everybody out there who's engaged in the business of selling guns, whether you're selling 2 guns a year or 200,000 guns, you have to get a license to sell, and all of your buyers have to undergo background checks. And there are going to be big penalties if you don't register. That includes people who are not just selling at gun shows, but also on the internet, even the dark web, from a home, you name it. If you're selling, you have to do this. However, the question is, well, how is the government going to make people register? And
yeah, you're equal to somebody who trolls the dark web. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it is where the most heinous, disgusting, lowest forms of life troll, so they can get their rocks off, or they can get their snuff video fill, so they can partake in things that are beyond atrocious. If you're buying and selling guns on Gunbroker, you're now equated to this filth, to this slime. But that isn't really a surprise, is it? I mean, we've been told for a decade now that if you believe in the Constitution, if you believe in a non-fiat currency, if you believe in a non-oligarch system, if you believe that Wall Street controls Washington, D.C., if you believe in Ron Paul, if you believe in freedom, then you're a domestic terrorist. But now that isn't enough, right? We just can't be a bunch of Osama bin Ladens hiding out in our bedroom with our guns, because that shock and awe, that's kind of worn off, right? We've had a decade of that. We've had millions of people die around this world because of it. And so now we need something a little worse. So we're going to compare gun owners that want to buy and sell guns on internet websites that are completely legal, completely legitimate. I myself have bought and sold a dozen guns on internet websites. We're going to compare them to people, the bottom filth, the slime, the scum of the earth. That's what we're going to do, because it's hard to eradicate the simplest of amendments, the Second Amendment. It really is, and its brevity and its simplicity is the reason that it is so difficult to erase and to destroy. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. How do you get rid of that? Well, to hell with the law, right? To hell with inalienable rights that is, wrapped up in this, our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. This same Bill of Rights, it doesn't come from government. It comes from your creator. An inalienable right that can't be taken away or given to you. You have it because you are, period. How do you get rid of that? Goebbels know how to do it, right? We saw it in Nazi Germany. You convince the people, you say it long enough, you say it loud enough, you get public opinion behind something where you get a democratic majority of 51% that will destroy the freedom of 100%. It's beyond infuriating to sit here and listen to this crap and listen to our president drag out victims' family members like he's pimping them out in order to shed a tear to talk about the ridiculous amount of gun violence in our country. And I say ridiculous because they want us to believe that around every corner there's somebody with an AR-15 or an AK-47 or a Beretta who's just out murdering and maiming and raping and killing and using guns to do it. The truth of the matter is, I could sit here for an hour and run through statistics from alternative media all the way to the FBI that show the exact opposite. Gun violence is on the decline. Violent crime in this country for decades has been on the decline. People are safer when they have guns. Every example the president came out with today, talking about these people that were shot and murdered, every single one of them was in a gun-free zone. Every single example was in a gun-free zone. He made an argument, if you're a critical thinker, for having more guns, for having more armed citizens going to these places that are gun-free zones. Maybe lives would be saved in that way. But that's, again, not what it's about. It's about neutering a nation. It's about de-arming a nation. It's about making you a criminal for wanting to act upon your inalienable right. It's about convincing your neighbor of that so that they will convince you of that. And then it's about making it so onerous to participate in this country, in this Constitution, that you will just step away. $250,000 fine, 5 years in prison if I sell a gun and I'm not a gun dealer, and I don't do a background check on my neighbor because I want to sell him my gun. Are you kidding me? My doctor, now I got to worry about being an informant for the ATF because maybe I went through a traumatic event and he decided that Prozac or Zoloft was a course of action that I needed to do for 6 months. Now I'm going to be reported because we have a whole new core of enforcement agents known as our physicians. Do we see a big leap here between the Stasi police state and what we have now? Everything is so over-legislated. Every law that is on the books can be interpreted in any way that the executive branch wants to, that now you are going to be taking old law that's been in force for years, and you're going to turn it into something completely brand new, right? 2 guns to 200,000 guns, I believe is what the exact quote was. You are going to participate in the federal government's FFL program. You are. If you're not, you're going to go away for a long time. We have a media that's more than happy to sit in their studio, sit in their corporate-funded studio that in a lot of cases was bailed out by you in 2008, 2009, and I'm sorry to say is going to be again in 2016. Have them sit there and regurgitate the crap over and over again. Why? It's simple. There's a direction the country's going, right? It's obvious to anybody that has an eye, right? Anybody that has one eye that can see the direction this country's going in. You have armed militia members that are squatting in federal property, and you have more and more hostility every single week as we see a neutered populace, an over-legislated populace that is losing its freedom, while a law enforcement community that's being built up into this military police state to go after the biggest fear in our country, which is the citizens that are armed. 300 million guns in this country. Where do we draw the line? I've said on Craig and I's program, the Second Amendment is it, right? That is going to be the tipping point. That is going to be the point where millions and millions of Americans say, I've had enough. Where you start to see breakups, or you start to see secession movements, where you start to see a true divide between the dyed-in-the-wool sheep of this country that are willing to watch their masters lead them right over the cliff, and the people that are going to say, enough is enough. My nation is $20 trillion in debt. We have millions of dead people around this planet over the last decade waging a fictitious fantasy war on terror. We have a nation that spends $5 billion inside of Eastern Europe in order to topple a government. So we have thousands and thousands and thousands of dead Ukrainians, and the most hostile relationship between us and the world's, arguably the world's only other superpower in Russia. And we're doing this on the American taxpayers' dime, arming the hell out of them, trying to promote conflict. The Middle East, Syria, North Africa, Iraq, Saudi Arabia bombing its neighbors. The list goes on and on and on. Murder for hire is what our government has become. And the citizens of this country are the ones who are going to pay the price because Obama sheds a tear for the victims of Sandy Hook and all these other gun-free zone shootings. Be realistic. I'm not going to sit here and go through the stats on what's more dangerous, but I guarantee you a 21-year-old that doesn't have to do anything other than prove how old he is, he doesn't have to register with the ATF to be a licensed bartender or be a business owner to kill himself on alcohol. But we're not going to talk about that, even though the numbers are astronomically higher, the deaths that are accompanied by alcohol than they are by firearms, or the deaths that come by owning a vehicle, or the deaths that come by eating a bunch of fat food because we're a fat, obese nation. More people are going to die from this than they are from gun control or from gun violence. And that argument is over. I don't care. I don't care if gun violence has eclipsed all of them put together. It doesn't give this government or the next government, blue team or red team, it does not give them the right to take this simple phrase that is not given to you by government and can't be taken away from you by government. So what does that mean? You are the only one that can allow your inalienable right to be taken away. You can give them the authority to do so. They don't have it. They can't do it. They didn't make it. They can't take it away. You can give it up. That is it. Stories are attached. That's all I got.